Hey everyone, this is Milo.
And I am Dino. We're from Fear Factory and you're watching us on Impact Channel. Tour's going amazing. The reaction has been killer. A lot of people have come out in support of Fear Factory, and it's great because we got a whole new lineup. Got Pete Heller on drums. He's in a thrash metal band called Havoc. We got the new kid on the block. We got Milo Silvestro, straight from Rome, Italy. He's fucking killing it. And of course, my longtime friend who's been in the band since like about 2014, 2015, Tony Campos from Static X is playing bass. So it's been going great out here. Good question. Well, Freedom of Fire started when we did the Metal Injection Festival in Anaheim, California. They wanted us to play some tracks off of Obsolete, and we only play tracks from demanufactured Obsolete. So we decided to add Freedom of Fire, and then we just saw the reaction was amazing, so we kept it in there. Now, Slave Labor and Archetype, we've been doing Archetype for a while now. For quite a few years, we added it into the set list. But Slave Labor, we decided to add it just because fans have been asking for it. So I decided to put it in there. I decided to forget all the bullshit and just put those songs in there, and then it's been going killer. Well, Transgression exactly wasn't one of my favorite records at all whatsoever. But they did do a track that I thought was amazing. It was called My Grave, which actually didn't come out on the record, but I believe it was like some secret track or whatever. But that's a really good song. And we've actually spoke about actually redoing it, but we'll see. No promises. And Archetype, the first few songs I thought were really good. The 4 or 5 songs I thought were cool, and that's about it.
I personally love Archetype. I think it has a different feel compared to the classic Fear Factory sound, and I like the record. Transgression, it's I think with better production would have been like an okay Fear Factory record for my taste, with few very good song, but it's just my personal opinion on that. So yeah, that's about it.
Sure, I would love to do all that, but if we added more songs, we'd be on stage for 2-3 hours. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, of course. But we do about an hour and a half right now, and it does seem a little short to me. I could definitely add 2 more songs, but that's just my opinion. He might not be able to do it because his voice and drummer, it's a lot of work.
A lot of cardio.
But I don't know. Sometimes sometimes we add those rare songs and we get no crowd reaction. So I always notice that when we stick to the certain hits, people are really excited about it. The majority of the crowd is excited about those songs. Nothing at the moment. We've been, ever since Milo's coming to the band, we've been just instantly on tour, and we have non-stop. The minute we're done with this tour, we're going straight into the Machine Head Fear Factory Orbit Culture tour, starting in America, and then we also go to Canada. We also go to Australia and New Zealand. Then we come back and we're doing some festivals in the States, and then we come back over here for festivals in June. So after that, then we'll be able to get into the record. He's going to have to be responsible for the lyrics. As far as production, we're all going to be doing it ourselves. I mean, Milo's a very well producer. He's done a lot of his own stuff, music and other bands, and so we're all just going to do it ourselves. Like, but I've kind of done that with every record. You know, we've had a guy named Damien Reynaud who's also co-produced records with us, and it's probably going to be the same. We just look for somebody killer to mix, like Andy Sneap.
Well, we've also been talking about lyrics, you know, like themes and stuff like that. We constantly, you know, watch movies together and just, you know, talk about possible themes for future music. So it's surely something that we will discuss together. So.
I've tried it. Yeah, I've tried it a few times. I've tried it with lyrics. Mainly lyrics and art. It comes out okay. Some of it's a little generic. You know what I mean? You really have to dig really deep into it and try to quite a few times to really get something that you like. But I mean, we've seen a lot of fans do it too. Fans have been doing art. You know, they put in Terminator and Fear Factory, and it's a big mess up of all kinds of stuff. I like it. It's here to stay. It's going to change. Just like our record Obsolete, you know, we talked about how certain technology was going to make things obsolete, and that's going to be the same thing with AI. And people are fear of that change because it will eliminate a lot of things. But I'm all for it. Well, I usually don't like to talk about politics, but yeah, that's already happening. That stuff's already been happening. You know, with all the deep fakes and people, with all the false propaganda that's been out there. That's been happening for the last, you know, few years, and actually for a long time, but more so the last few years, and it's going to get worse. Yeah, for sure. But you know, some people, they just can't trust everything. You know. You know, all it is money. All it is about money. If Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whoever the fuck, Amazon wants to, you know, donate billions of dollars to, you know, whatever organization, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can to really do to stop it.
But
It's unfortunate. That's how it is.
Let's go back to music.
Tumultuous, crazy, man. It's been crazy, but you know, it's just life. It's just business, and that's how things are. But I've had a lot of high points as well, and I think right now I'm on a high point. You know, with Milo singing now, and the band's on fire. The shows are fucking killer. Fans have come out and supported. I think it's only next record. I think we're gonna be to where we used to be. We're getting bigger and bigger, and it's going to grow. I'll let him answer that because he's a big fan. So,
Well, it's an unpopular case because a lot of people would say demanufacture, you know, and blah blah. But I was started to Fear Factory with Digimortal because I was a lot back then into the groovier kind of metal, and that resonated with me for some reason. Then from there, I got deeper into the discography, and then discovered, you know, the whole discography. And that, as of today, I would say my favorite album would be probably Obsolete for the overall sound and the groove aspect, you know, the rhythmic ideas and the overall, you know, the synth work. Pretty much everything. Bird, vocal, screaming tone, which I think is one of the gnarliest he ever delivered, and the melodies, you know, the riffs, the overall storyline. You know, this is a story. It's his first concept album of the band, and when I bought the original album and I was listening to the record while reading to the story for the first time, it was really emotional, and Resurrection and Timelessness for some reason are one of those, the most emotional songs of Fear Factory for me, and they have a special meaning for me. So I would say probably Obsolete is my favorite record, but the second place, I would say Digimortal and Genexus combined, because
it's groovy, you know, but it's heavy at the same time. It's got a lot of synth work. I'm a big fan of electronic music, so the melodies are great, you know. But so yeah, I would probably say Obsolete and then Digimortal and Genexus.
So for me, any record I'm on, those are my favorites. And you know, to me, the music and the records speak a certain time. They tell you a certain era of where the band was at or what was happening socially. You know, Sylvan Machine was basically the birth of this technology and just where we saw society going, right? And of course, at that time, you know, what was really big at that time was, you know, a lot of death metal, a lot of grindcore, some early industrial stuff like Godflesh. And so on our first record, you really hear all those elements, right? But the lyrics and what we were talking about was some differently. And the cover and the title meant something completely different. You know what I mean? It meant the change. It meant the beginning of a change. And then when we got to Fear's the Mind Killer, we were able to bring in more electronic elements and to make this really cool remix, a hybrid of death metal, industrial, grindcore, mixed with more electronic dance stuff. And it was probably, at the time, one of the most, like, crazy remixes like that people have done. I know Brutal Truth had did one song, and maybe Godflesh had did a couple remixes, and Ministry and stuff like that, but this was something different because it was combined with a lot more different, heavier, extreme elements. And so that really opened the door for the next record, because we saw, by the time Demanufacture was being made, we had, in Los Angeles, we had the Rodney King riots, which was an insane time to be in LA. You know, you had the army, the military were on the streets, patrolling the streets. You know, we seen people shooting each other. It was crazy. And then we had these massive earthquakes in LA that just destroyed LA. And then we saw massive rain, right? And then we saw fires. We had this massive fires in LA. And then when the rain came, there was no more trees to hold the mud, so all the mud came and just swept away people's houses. So within a matter of 2 years, from Fear's the Mind Killer 1993 to 1994, or 1992, 1994, within those 2 years, all this shit happened. And then we saw technology also playing a big change. It birthed demanufacturing. That was demanufacturing. The first lyric says it all. Desensitized to the values of life. You know, that lyric was the one line that defined the whole record, right? And it was a cold, precise, highly technical record that really resonated with people at that time, right? And then, of course, musically and technology and things change. By the time we got to Obsolete, you know, bands like Korn and a lot of bands where production has changed. You know, people's production were more raw, a lot more low end was added to production. You know, not these, you know, thin thrash records were very thin back in the day compared to the productions that was happening in the early 90s. And sometimes it's hard for people to really understand this because they weren't there during that time. They weren't alive at that time. So a lot of people might not understand what I'm saying, but production-wise changed. Sounds changed. Tuning got lower. The tuning got lower, you know what I mean? People were drop tuning the guitars. 7 strings were coming out. There was a lot of things that were changing. And so by the time we did Obsolete, we saw a lot of bands getting popular on the groove, like Pantera, Korn, stuff like that. You know, so we're like, fuck it, we're gonna do Fear Factory type of groove. And that's when bands like, that's when songs like Shock, because nobody was doing that with the double bass. You know what I mean? Nobody was adding sick groove like that with the double bass. Not even Pantera, right? And we're just like, okay, we're gonna do our version of what we think this should sound like. So, Demanufacture was more of a cold, calculated type of production, where all the tempos were one tempo in a song, like per song, whereas Obsolete, we kind of gave it a more natural tempo, flow on the records. And we made it more groovier. We actually gave it more of an organic tone, right? And we even gave it more of an organic color. Because if you look at Demanufacture, it looked like steel, looked like futuristic. It had, all the cold elements of cybernetic organisms living in that record, right? And then we bring Obsolete, where we had more of a brown, earthy tone to give it more of a natural feel to it, right? But still super highly technical produced album. You know what I mean? It was almost like we wanted to bring the human element into the machine on that record. That's exactly what we did. But lyrically, it was miles ahead of the other records. Miles ahead. Because at that point, man was becoming obsolete. The machines have taken over, and man was getting destroyed. Human life was getting destroyed, and we were taking over. And it was also showing you that certain things were becoming obsolete because the internet was taking over. Books were becoming obsolete. Radio stations were becoming obsolete. Record stores were becoming obsolete. CDs were becoming obsolete. And it was just like we were talking really about the change of where it was going. And then when we get into Digimortal, we were like, okay, again, change is coming. Change is coming. We wanted to talk about the change. And this is where man and machine were starting to become one, where the technology started to become better. And if you remember, during the news during that time, they were talking about cloning. A lot of cloning technology was happening. They were cloning sheep. They were cloning pigs. They were able to clone body parts. But obviously the higher ups thought that this was something that was going to be too dangerous, because you can clone a human. So they were thinking it was too dangerous, so they stopped it. And so that's where Digimortal kind of came into, the cloning technology. That's why the Remixes was called cloning technology before that, yeah. And so, and then obviously Mechanized and Genexus and all those next records were the next evolution of what those, what the time was at that time. Now it's all about AI. Everything's AI. So we'll see where we go with that. We'll see how we can talk about that change and how it progresses and evolves. But going back to the first question, any record that I'm on, that's my favorite record. Like if we did a tribute record?
If you could organize a tribute record.
Oh, definitely the first one, Faith No More, for sure. Faith No More, I think would be great. I could pick younger bands. I would do Orbit Culture would be great. Doing Fear Factory. I think what do they call Psycore? But there was one. Epica did a cover, a Fear Factory cover. Replica. They did Replica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So that would be good.
I think, that's a good question. I don't know how it may sound, but I think Gojira would do a pretty interesting work on a Fear Factory cover. I don't know, just probably be cool to hear. And I don't know what else. Probably.
Frontline Assembly would be great. They kind of already did it with Fear is the Mind Killer. Reese has been working with the band for so long.
Yeah, but I don't know about that, but he would be cool to have like the Prodigy with, if Kate Flynn was still alive, doing a Fear Factory. Yeah, that would be some cool shit.
Yeah,
for sure.
Obsolete. Come on, Obsolete would be a perfect movie. Although Terminator Salvation is probably closer to Obsolete. That concept of that movie. It's a fucking great movie.
Who will be the director?
Wow. Ridley Scott,
James Cameron.
James Cameron, any of those guys, yeah.
David Lynch.
David Lynch, yeah. That'd be great. I mean, I kind of feel like we do that already with the remixes. You know what I mean?
Like new songs, pretty much like Korn did with
Yeah, what do you call it? Prodigy or something?
Paradigm Shift, which was all.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a very
was all
single-
Paradigm,
yeah.
which wasn't-
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Original song, but with like.
Well, we would have to let people know, okay, this is what we're gonna do, because if we step away from the metal, you know, for like official new record, if we stepped away from the metal, a lot of our metal fans might not like it.
I'm gonna cry about it.
But I think people will like it if you just do a remix of it, because that's just an extension of the record, and people, it's kind of our way of being able to.
I was like, what? You have your record went techno?
Yeah. Because there are some people who don't like the techno records. You know what I mean? Yes.
That'd be cool. Really cool.
Yes. All the above. Well, the industrialists, I think, needed it because, you know, a lot of people didn't like the drum programming. So we went back and recorded the live drums and, you know, redid some of the production on it. And it kind of breathed new life into the album. And people liked the album. People actually said, fuck, I like this. Like, a lot of people said, well, I didn't like, I kind of dismissed the industrialist because a lot of the bad reviews, people were saying that. But then when they heard a new version, they're like, holy shit, I totally appreciate the songs more now. And so that's been really cool. Both on the back burners, man. It's, you know, now that Milo's been in the band, we've been so fucking busy, you know. Me and Tony haven't really found, and Tony's also in Static X, so he's constantly busy, so we hadn't have time to do Assassino. And same thing with Divine Heresy. I know a lot of people ask me all the time about those bands and about putting out new records, but you know, this is my number one baby. You know, gotta do this. Oof. Well, obviously Slayer, Rain and Blood, Metallica, Master of Puppets, Exodus, Bonded by Blood, U2, The Joshua Tree. And number 5 would have to be Faith No More, The Real Thing.
It's gonna be really difficult for me to squeeze them all into 5, but okay, I'm just gonna simplify it by not including Fear Factory because that's take you know you grant everything.
Yeah,
of course.
fine. The first 5 records are my favorite.
I mean, for me, it wasn't those records, and I'm a fan, just, so aside of Fear Factory.
That's the easy way out to say Fear Factory. You gotta say
yeah. So that's why I say.
You can't say Pavarotti either.
Oh, really? So, I would probably say Iowa with Slipknot. First Cold Chamber album.
What's it called? Yes,
Cold Chamber. It's self-titled. Hate of Callousness by a band called Spyshank.
Height of Callousness.
Height of Callousness. I'm sorry, my Italian sometimes. Hate of Callousness. And what's the other two? I'd say Magma by Gojira. And man, that's tough shit. I would say La Petite Mort from King 810, which is a newer band, which I really like. So
Yeah, they've been around for a while.
yeah, newer. Yeah, it's like from 2014, I think, the first album, 2015-ish.
Yeah.
But they've been around before.
Yeah.
Yeah, a band I really like. So. Oof. Metal.
Well, it's a long answer, but if I had to put it in simple words, love, happiness, being creative, and working hard.
Well, I pretty much agree on that. I would say, to me, it's a question that I ask myself pretty much every day, and but I would say, the meaning of life to me is like the endless search of happiness in a sense of not just the enthusiasm and joy, but also like serenity, which is an uncommon thing in nowadays world, and sharing that goodness with people, and making other people feel good, which is something that I'm really learning right now. I always thought it was a thing you would go for, but right now that I'm in this band and I see people smiling and crying, of emotions or unhappiness because of us playing on stage, and I'm really noticing how not just being happy, but sharing happiness with people and giving happiness to people who are maybe need it is maybe the most important thing and the ultimate goal of this existence for me. So,
And that's success. When you're able to use your art to express, good feelings, no matter what feelings they are, whether it's sadness or happiness, because, music is just all about emotions, you know what I mean? And yeah, people are really excited that we're here. People are really excited that we're playing these songs and we're singing these songs how they are on the record. And people are like, just wow, they're just blown away. And that's a really good feeling, both sides. It's a good feeling for them, and it's also a great feeling for us because we know that we're making them happy. So. Thank you for the 33 years of support.
thank you for accepting and welcoming the new era of Fear Factory. So.
Thank you for the interview.
Yeah.